Hey, before the video fully starts here, I just wanted to preface it by saying that the main portion of this video was recorded in sort of like mid to late February. I've been working on this video for a few weeks, and basically like the only time I really had time to record that whole section was during that time frame, and a lot has changed since then. The game is shutting down on March 12th. The game will probably already be dead by the time this video is uploaded. Um, there's been a lot of information to come out from various developers, even the game director. And so a lot has changed in the time frame since the initial recording of this video and script writing for the video. So uh, please, as you watch this, keep that in mind. I'm going to have some little edits and stuff put on screen throughout the video just to give extra context and yeah, to like kind of flesh it out a little bit with the new information we have. But also I'm going to be including like an epilogue section at the end of the video that's going to go over the game's final update, some of the statistics that were released by the game director, and other things like that. So I hope you stick around till then because there's some little interesting developments and some ideas I have to present about that as well. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you enjoy the real reason Highguard failed. No, there's been a lot of discourse recently about this game you've probably heard about called Highguard. Ever since the reveal of the game, back in December of last year, there's been so much talk about, is it gonna fail, is it gonna do good, the game sucks, the player base is non-existent, all of this stuff, right? And so I today am going to present my thoughts on why exactly the game is in the condition that it is today. Now, I was one of those people that, is a minority, frankly, that was actually excited for this game. Someone that was, kind of on the edge of their seat. And here was the reason why. It's from the Titanfall people. That's why I was so excited for this game. Like, I thought this game was going to be really good because it's from the Titanfall devs. These guys made Titanfall 2. These guys made Apex. These guys know what the hell they're doing. Obviously, this game is gonna freaking rock. And I was made fun of by my friends for thinking that, but I was ready. The game came out, and I hated it. Honestly, I was really disappointed with it. I found it to be not enjoyable whatsoever. And now we've gone down this spiral of the game losing over 90% of its player base. There's layoffs. There's just like, it feels like the game is just like falling into a pit, and it's kind of sad, but also I feel like it's kind of deserved. So today just cracked open a bottle and I am ready to discuss this topic. Oh, by the way, check out my Galaxy print bottle opener. This right here is 2016 written all over it. Okay, first things first, I want to talk about this concept. It seems like there's two types of people in the what am I saying? The Highguard community. First of all, you have the people that defend the game, which is the minority, and you have the people who hate the game. We're going to be making this distinction of the raiders.
Hey, Raider.
Not those kind of raiders. And the Wardens. The people who hate the game, the people who defend the game. So, you can probably consider a raider as someone who would review bomb the game, like they played one match and they leave a negative review, they don't think much of it. The guys that were hating the game as soon as the game was revealed, while I do think that like this point of view is like a little bit unjust, I at the same time have to say that like gamers should be able to express their distaste towards something. This notion that like gamers shouldn't be able to dislike something is just horrible to me. It's horrible. And this idea comes from players, this idea comes from developers especially, that like people just shouldn't have the right to like dislike a game because the game had love and care put into it. But for some reason, the game still sucks. So if a game is bad, it's bad. If a game is good, it's good. It doesn't matter how long you worked on it or how many people worked on it. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. And you know, there's some of these raiders, that, as I'm calling them, that are, well, like what I was saying, they're kind of unjust, disrespectful, like just not much to it sort of people. Like they just kind of hate to hate. But also, there's a lot of really well-made reviews that are negative towards this game. I was one of those people. I played a few games, I had so much hype for this game, and I couldn't help myself but leave a negative review because I was so disappointed and so just like upset. And because the game just doesn't flow well. The game isn't that good. And we'll get to that later. But on the other end of the spectrum is this really interesting group of people I'm calling the Wardens. And these are kind of like the White Knights of Highguard, you know, if that makes any sense. And these people, I've noticed, are very ignorant of the game's issues. These people are like, they want to defend the game so bad, but they don't really have a basis of defense for it. Really, their only argument is like, oh, don't worry guys, the game isn't as bad as the haters say. It's not that bad. Like, oh, you know, it's kind of unique. It's kind of cool. Like, I kind of like it, guys. And there's nothing wrong. Like, if you like the game, I'm happy for you, bro. Like, seriously, if you like the game, I'm happy for you. But you cannot ignore that there are critical issues with this game, you know, spanning across everything from the performance to the gameplay to the graphical design of the game. Like, there's just so many issues with it. And these people tend to just kind of forget that and just say that the game is great. You see these people, especially in like the Twitter comments and stuff of the game. Like, you just have this like random assortment of people with like 0 like comments that are like, keep it up guys, you guys are doing great. They're like white moms at their kids' soccer game or something. It's like they just treat the developers like babies. Like, oh, you guys are doing so good, I'm so proud of you. And it's like, just face the issues, you know? But, you know, if all these people are like, if all these people exist, right, all these people that are defending the game, and if we can look at the haters and say, oh, a lot of them are unjust, then like, what's the actual problems with the game? Is it just performance? Is it the game itself? Was it the really interesting, kind of weird, kind of bad marketing scheme? Or is it a Jeff Keighley hate clan? I feel strongly it may be that last one, but honestly, I think it's the game. Okay. Let's talk about the issues with the game itself. Now, recently, despite really being angry with the game on launch and uninstalling the game on launch day, because I was so upset, I did reinstall it recently to get some footage, some background footage for the video that you've been watching periodically. And, you know, I really took that play session, which was maybe 2 or 3 hours, as like a way to actually critically analyze my critiques of the game from launch day and be like, was I wrong? Have they improved the game? Have they actually changed anything, or does the game suck just as much as before? And I have to say, most of the things that I criticized from day one are still present in this game. Like, a lot of these issues I'm about to discuss are almost fundamental to the game itself. They're not things like balance or whatever that get changed, you know, every week and like every other free-to-play shooter, right? It's like, these are things that are foundational to this game and its game mode and how they want you to play it. That is just like, I just don't see it changing. I have some ideas of how they could make the game better, which I will present. But overall, these are issues that I think for the most part, other than the first one I'll mention, are things that are just unfixable, foundational, critical issues with the game. So, the first issue, which I noticed did not get fixed, even in the month that the game has been out, is the performance. For context, I have a 4090, I have i9s, I have a really solid computer. And I can barely pull over 70 or 80 frames, even in the little intro cutscene that plays. It's ridiculous. I play plenty of other games that also run in Unreal Engine 5 that are, also big titles, right? That run way better. Been playing a lot of Arc Raiders, like since that game came out. That game I run on max graphics, 100 plus frames consistently. Highguard I run on low graphics, can barely crack 80 FPS. When you get into a fight, you're lucky if you get 60. It's really rough, it's really heartbreaking, and it's one of those things that's like, this is one of those issues that I hate to see games struggle with, because you can have a really solid game and then just have it crumble to pieces because it performs so poorly. Like, seriously, you can have a great basis of a game, but if the game runs like absolute dog crap, people are gonna hate the game because it doesn't feel good. Like, the game just feels crappy to play, so naturally people are gonna hate it. And so performance was one of those critical issues I was hoping to see fixed within a month of the game being out, almost. And of course, it still runs like freaking trash, even with a really high-end rig. I don't know how that hasn't been fixed. But beyond that, let's talk about the gameplay phases, because this is where I think where most of the hate for the game kind of comes from, and I think rightfully so. The gameplay phases of how this game rolls out are very interesting, they're very segmented, and they're very, whiplashy, if that makes any sense. First of all, I want to say, the one change they did make that I think improves the game tremendously is 5v5. I think launching the game as a 3v3 hyper-competitive shooter without any ranked mode and just focusing so heavily on 3 stacks and stuff, weak move. They should have never done that. 5v5 should have been the go-to mode from the beginning, and it should be the main mode. It feels a lot better and more interesting. This was one of my critiques of the game from day one, that if they want to make this game feel like this big, you're raiding the enemy base and you're destroying their base, only having 3 people defending this whole freaking castle makes no sense. At least having 5 people makes a little bit more sense, especially for the big freaking maps this game has, because this game has some gargantuan maps. Anyways, let's talk about the gameplay phases, as I said. First of all, you have your defense phase. The defense phase feels like a tower defense game. You go over, you throw up your little armored walls, and it's pretty lackluster. You spend about a minute just walking around your base, putting up iron walls that are gonna get destroyed pretty easily. And in my original script for this video, I was like, oh, you can't destroy the iron walls with your axe, but you can do it with a million other things. Actually, I was wrong. You can destroy the walls with your axe as long as you have the little fire icon on your axe. You can deal heavy damage to them. So, to me, there's just not much of a point of these walls, and they feel like a really weak defense because just a couple grenades and the abilities of half the roster in the game can destroy the walls, and so they just don't really feel like they carry much weight in the end of the day, especially when as soon as the enemy team raids your base or you raid the enemy team's base, most of these iron walls just kind of fall apart in the first raid, so it doesn't even really leave that much of an impact. A piece of advice I would want to give to developers in this case would be consider traps for each of the characters. This is an idea I've had since like the game came out. It's like, why don't the characters all have their own like unique like elemental trap or something? Like Atticus could have some stun shock trap that like, you know, silences enemy abilities or like stuns them in place. Slade could have like a burning fire trap or something. Scarlet could have like a little quicksand trap that's gonna, you know, pull people down. Kai could have like a freeze trap that makes people like slip and slide around, or, you know, like get them stuck in the ice or something. I don't know. Just ideas like that would make raiding and the defense phase specifically feel more interesting, right? Like the defense phase feels so boring, even though it only lasts like a minute. It's just like, I'm just gonna go walk around and like click walls, and it's like a point and click adventure, and it's baseless at the end of the day. It's baseless, really. And I just feel like being able to place like a unique trap would add a lot of depth to not only the defense phase and like trying to figure out like, well, where's the best place to place my trap. That's a lot. But also would make raids more interesting instead of just running in and beelining it for the generator, just having to consider that there could be really scary traps in here. You know what I mean? That makes it more interesting. But moving on to the next phase, the looting phase. So if the first phase was a tower defense mode, this is a battle royale. Even looting the boxes, like the whole animation just feels like looting a container from Apex. If you guys have ever played Apex, like it just feels the same, which makes sense because it's the same developers, but like there's just not enough diversity from a BR. You're looting the same stuff. You're looting for shields, you're looting for weapons, and various other items. It's the exact same thing as looting in a battle royale. But here's the kicker. If your armor breaks, or if you die, your armor breaks. So you can't just loot one set of armor. You have to loot like 5 or 6 just to make sure that you don't have to spend your little precious diamonds that you have to spend half of your looting phase mining, like it's Minecraft, just so you can buy more armor sets for when you inevitably die. Also, there's really not much reason to loot weapons. Yes, the weapons that you loot are sometimes better than the ones that you get to choose from. You get to choose from the whole catalog of weapons while you're defending, right? You can choose literally any of the weapons you please, like a gray variant, just a base version of it. And then you go out and loot, and you find more of those gray weapons out in the wild, which is just stupid to me. They should all be at least blue rarity when you're looting weapons, even in the first round. But then you can find these upgraded weapons with better mags, faster reloads, you know, stuff like that. But really, like, I've had plenty of success just running gray guns for the whole first round and really never upgrading my guns. Like, I had a very successful, like, during my last playthrough, I had a very successful run where I just had my gray sniper and my gray AR, or my gray SMG, and I was just dominating. I'm like, so what's the point of spending all this time looting for weapons? At least in a battle royale, like, when you loot for guns and stuff, you need those guns. When you loot for meds and shields, you need those items. You need these mobility items. In Highguard, you really don't need any of this. There's really no point of it. So it's like you have your stuff already. You have your steed, your glorious steed. You have your weapons. You have abilities to use. There's really not much point of upgrading the stuff because you can still play well with all of that. You have mobility, you have a shield, you have guns, you have abilities to use. This stuff doesn't do much. The only things that I would say are valuable to loot are like the items like the thumper charge or the I don't even know what it's called, but it's like this blade that you can stick in the enemy's base that creates like a little hole in it that you can raid through. Those like just like in the amulets that give like little perk upgrades, like those are the only things I find to be personally very valuable. I think it would be better if you just upgraded the weapons progressively throughout the game as the game lasted longer. The looting phase feels so baseless and boring and just like a battle royale, but with a fraction of the stakes of looting, and it just breaks up the pacing. And if you get into a fight during this looting phase and you have purple armor and you die, you lose that purple armor. You've got to fall back on your gray or your blue armor. So it's just like, it's just, fighting in this phase doesn't even feel fun anyways. So you may as well just sit around and loot and mine diamonds until the Stormbreaker spawns. But when, the Shield Breaker spawns, the game turns into a calm, cozy looting game and turns into Black Friday at Walmart chasing for the last 8K 120 FPS freaking monitor. Like, everyone converges onto that one sword and it's just warfare. So you go from this like super chill, I'm just running around on my horse, to basically 3v3 or 5v5 arena shooter, because it always spawns in like a specialized area that's more like a build town instead of just open fields like Breath of the Wild or something. Like, it's just an arena shooter. So you go from tower defense to BR to arena shooter, and if you can actually make it to the enemy side, or if the enemies make it to your base in the like 2 minutes it gives you to make it over there, which is pretty dumb. I hate the whole timed phase thing, but we're not gonna talk about that. Then you enter the raid phase, which is the sort of like the flagship part of the game. And this flagship part of the game is just fantasy Valorant. That's all it is. It's fantasy Valorant with a little bit of destruction. Like, if you took the destruction of the finals, which has like very crazy detailed destruction physics that are very well made, and the game runs surprisingly decent despite all of the buildings collapsing, if you take that and you make it really crappy and apply it to only specific walls, and then you take search and destroy type game modes like Valorant, CS, I don't know, freaking Fragpunk, whatever, and throw it in there, this is the raid phase. You've got 2 generators that'll deal damage to the enemy's base, and then you've got I think it's called the Anchor Stone, which if you destroy that, it ends the whole game. That is the only cool part of it, in my opinion, is that there is an objective that, like, if you can secure it, just ends the game. That's cool. But other than that, this whole phase is just another tactical shooter. It doesn't do much interesting. You can't ride your steed in this phase when you're in the enemy's base, so you can't even like feel like you can get around fast or even use like a flagship part of the game. That's locked down. Of course, you can still use your abilities and items and weapons, but like it feels like at that point it's just a stripped down version of the game that's trying to conform to the other parts of the game. And so, you know, as a whole, each raid game just feels like this weird, like, ebb and flow of a game that's just trying to be every genre at the same time. Like, it's trying to be a battle royale because BRs are still kind of trendy. Fortnite's still big, Apex is still big somehow. Warzone is still somewhat big, I think. Arena shooters are growing in popularity. People like the fast-paced action. People like the, you know, the very back and forth, respawning, getting back in the fight. People liked that. Tactical shooters are trendy. People like Valorant. People like CS. You know, there's a bunch of people trying to make those kind of games, and all of them are failing, like Spectre Divide. It's like you are taking all of these popular genres and trying to like squish them into one subgenre that somehow makes sense. And people don't like that. It doesn't feel fun. It just feels like you're doing a bunch of busy work and playing like Mario Party but shooters. It's like they're just trying to meld all of these different genres into one and make them all their own individual mini games on a timer. It's just not an enjoyable gaming experience. But somehow, Wildlight doesn't see that. They think their game is the best thing ever, and they're blaming the game's failure on gamer culture. But what is gamer culture exactly? Gamer culture. According to Wildlight, they think that gamer culture is just hate. Like, it's just like, if you're a gamer online, you just hate everything. Like, all games suck. Games are awful. Like, every game that comes out is just so bad. I need to hate it. If it's an indie game, it sucks. If it's AAA, it sucks. If it's at the Game Awards, it sucks. But honestly, gamer culture, in my opinion, is nothing but strong opinions. Gamers are very opinionated, especially in comparison to, you know, people who just kind of passively watch TV or movies. Gamers, whether you're a casual or a hardcore gamer, are just naturally like more passionate about the media, right? It's like when you watch a movie or a show, you are passively sort of consuming that, right? Now, you can be really engaged in a film. I love TV. But gaming is unique in the sense that you are actively involving yourself in that world. You are actively playing a character in that world. So, gaming is a lot different than other forms of media in that sense. So naturally, I think it just makes sense that gamers would be more passionate, more opinionated about what they're consuming, right? And I think, you know, to kind of prove my point here, that gamer culture isn't just hate, and it's just strong opinions based off if a game is really good or not really good. I think a very recent and very applicable example is actually Overwatch. I think Overwatch has kind of had this interesting resurgence recently after their sort of, you know, like reset, right? They're removing the 2 from the name. They've, you know, kind of had a reset to how the game works, a ton of new heroes, a lot of new content. Like, the game is really refreshing itself and actually really putting up a fight with games like Marvel Rivals. And, you know, like, the sort of sentiment around Overwatch has gone from, like, mostly hate to, like, a lot more enjoyment. Personal friends of mine have been enjoying the game again. I myself have been enjoying the game again. I've been seeing videos of people online saying, like, hey, I just tried Overwatch again after their new update, and, like, I kind of want to play that more than Marvel Rivals. It's a lot better. And so, what's interesting to me is that when Overwatch 2 came out, and when Overwatch came out on Steam, it got review bombed to hell. Like, I don't think the game has recovered from that to this day on Steam. Like, that game dropped and got review bombed literally into the depths of hell. Like, I think the game had like a freaking like 3% positive rating score. Yet the game had been out for years, right? But Overwatch 2, of course, kind of derailed everything. And yet, that game was still pulling thousands of new players from Steam, right? Like, that game was still doing fairly well despite the hate, unlike Highguard. And now what we're seeing is, like, even after years of hate and the game still having very negative reviews on Steam, now the game is hitting new all-time peaks on Steam. People are enjoying the game. People are literally applauding the developers, applauding the game for all the updates they've made, especially over the past few years that people like me just hadn't seen until recently. You know, like new modes, new characters, new maps, etc., etc. Like just quality of life changes, things like that. Like, now the game is actually kind of seen in a positive light. Like, of course not completely, but we're kind of seeing this reversal of, like, people are starting to like Overwatch again. It took a few years, but it's kind of back, honestly. It's kind of back. So I think that's a great example of, like, gamer culture, whatever that means, working in a very positive light. Gamers are just very opinionated. So, if a game is good, like the current state of Overwatch is, genuinely, I'm enjoying myself. Like, people will applaud that. People will give credit to that. People will enjoy their time playing. If a game is not good, people will not give it any leeway or like, well, you just have to consider this. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's good, it's good. That's sort of the main point, is like, if the game is bad, gamers will not like it, gamers will not play. If the game is good, gamers will play, gamers will like it. That's just sort of, it's kind of monkey brain, you know, oh, game good, I play. But seriously, like, it's just how it is. That's just how it goes. And I think there's a lot of good merit to that, because it also keeps developers on their toes with, like, we have to make something good or people aren't just gonna play it. So I think we can pretty easily conclude that gamer culture is not the reason the game failed, it's the game itself. Do I think gamer culture was in favor of this game from the get-go? No. Do I think that gamer culture is the reason why the game failed? No. There is no reason that a game should start with over 100,000 players, literally on launch day. The game on Steam alone had nearly 100,000 players. You cannot convince me that a genuinely good, like, very good, well-made game would drop from 100,000 players to under 1,000, barely hitting 1,000 player peak on the daily in less than a month. That just doesn't happen. I mean, even think about Arc Raiders, right? That game was hitting, like, new player peaks months after the game came out in, like, December or January. Like, that game just kept growing, man. And it's because it's really well made. It's really good. Like, it's seriously a very well made game. And the game just kind of grew and stayed at where it was for a long time. Now we're seeing the game, like, go under 200,000 players, but frick, that's still really good. But that aside, I think it's important for us to talk about sort of the perspective of the developers and a lot of what's happening behind the scenes and just the downfall of the game, kind of putting a spotlight on that. This game is falling apart. Let's just get real. Let's get serious. This game is falling apart. No time for jokes. No time for, you know, making a sweet Twitter meme or whatever about how the game sucks and is so bad. But this game, its developers, and everything surrounding it is collapsing and crashing and burning. You know, it's a little bit sad to me because I believed in these developers. I believed that they could make something great. They've done a lot for good games in the past. This game had a lot of potential, but it just fumbled miserably on every aspect. Everything from the game itself to the marketing. And now, the developers are reaping what they've sown. They've made a game that's, not what gamers want. It's not very good. It's trying to be unique, but not succeeding at it. And now, it's dying so fast. It's survived longer than Concord, I'll give it that. Probably because it's free. But where the game is right now and what's happening is just not sustainable. Wildlight has been suffering layoffs. And, ex-developers now are complaining about, again, like we talked about, the gamer culture. They're complaining about, the development of the game being very, rough towards the end after the game was revealed. And, it's kind of sad hearing from the developers who probably genuinely tried really hard to make a good game, just fail miserably and then lose their job because of this game's failure. It's hard to say if this was an executive issue or if it was just a general developer issue. I don't know too much about the culture of Wildlight, but it seems like it's probably not too different than the Concord development, culture, if you will. And now the website for the game is down too. The developers are saying the website is down because, we just need to focus on other things for the game. We just need to put more resources into making updates for you guys. And I think that's a load of BS, if I'm being honest. Even when I was making, game projects pretty consistently, I never shut down my website during that time because it was really no cost to me to have it up for a while, I took it down after a few months after I stopped, but to me it's just there was really no cost for me, even as a solo creator, to keep that up. So why would a entire company say, yeah, we need to take down the website because it's just taking up too much of our resources? That just sounds like crap to me. To me, it's just a sign of the times. It's a sign of the times for them. It's the game is falling apart. They've lost 99% of the player base pretty much. There's just no way this is profitable or sustainable. And even recently it came out that Tencent, the big scary Chinese company, supposedly invested and supported the game financially through its development, which to me is another thing that's I really don't want to support that game if that's true. I have a really hard time supporting games that are heavily backed by Tencent and stuff like that. There's stuff Epic Games had partial ownership from Tencent, but if a game is directly funded by them, I think that's an issue to me. And it's just a little bit of a suspicious thing to do. For me as a developer, even if Tencent came up to me and was we're offering you $100,000 or whatever, $3 million to make your game, I'd be I'm not taking that from you. It's I just can't get with that, ethically. I think there's a lot of sketch that comes with that company and a lot of its operations and games related to it. The glaring issue with this game, as mentioned by everyone under the sun, is the player count. It's you just can't dodge that. The game is literally dying faster than I've seen a lot of games die. And I just can't help but say, that's just how it goes if you make a game like this. If you make a game like that, and, I think the player count is also another interesting metric to look at. Because you can say, look at this. Over 100,000 people gave your game a chance. It wasn't DOA, it wasn't dead on arrival. Nobody even wanted to consider trying it. over 100,000 people gave your game a chance, genuinely tried. If your game was fun, people would have came back. People would have kept playing. People would have said, you know what, this game rocks, and the game would have grown. Instead, everyone agreed, for the most part, this game kind of sucks. This game is not fun. I do not like this game. And then it fell apart. And that wasn't because of gamer culture. That wasn't because of whatever variable. It's because your game wasn't good. It's that simple. But just to wrap things up here, as much as I wanted to see this game succeed, it just didn't. It just didn't. The game has crashed and burned, and will probably continue to unless they bring out some miracle work. The game is going to continue down this path. Probably within like a week or so of uploading, like this game will probably be down to like 500 players a day. I checked right before I started recording, and the current player count was like just over 800 players on a Friday. So to me, it's just like, this is one of those days where you typically have more players, and it ain't happening. As much as I wanted to see this game succeed, it's not. And I don't think it can. I think they tried something here. The game had a lot of potential, but its execution was not good. I think they had an interesting idea and an interesting concept for a game, but I think they miserably failed at the execution because they took a really unique, cool idea and basically turned it into, how can we copy every other popular genre and squish them all into one? It's just like, it's not that good, I know that's so simple and sounds so baby brain, but it's just not good. The game just isn't good. That's the core of it. The game just isn't good. The game isn't enjoyable. I've tried to break it down. I gave an idea or two of how it could be better, but really the game is fundamentally flawed. And I think a critical, thing that we're going to take away, a key concept that we will take away from this game's failure, for both players and developers going forward, I think the main thing we need to learn from this is that developers must stop blaming gamers for failure. The players are not at fault. If they do not like a game, if your game is bad, they will express that. If your game is good, they will also express that. It is as simple as that. So developers cannot continue to blame gamers for their game failing. Players are not indebted to you as the developer for making a game. Gamers have thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of other titles to play, and if yours is not good, it will not receive the time of day. It is as simple as that. You, as the developer, are providing a service, almost like a restaurant, right? It's like if a restaurant has crappy food and really poor service, people aren't going to go eat there. Same goes for games. If your game has crappy performance and plays horribly and isn't fun, people aren't going to play it. So I think that's the key takeaway that specifically developers need to pick up from this game's failure, and for players to recognize that they shouldn't have to feel bad about not liking a game. And yeah, that's just about it. I at this point, I don't think that any other free-to-play hero shooters are really going to succeed. I think the last one of its kind that we'll see succeed, at least in this age, is Marvel Rivals, purely because of the IP attached to it. I think people have become really attached to the game because of the characters, and now I think because of Overwatch's resurgence and then the game balance of Rivals kind of depleting, I think we're starting to see a kind of a shift in the sands, but I think overall, like, that's probably the last game we'll see succeed of this breed of games. And Wildlight and other developers need to move on and find something new to create. But that's about it. I hope you all have enjoyed my sort of perspective and insight into this game's failure. I hope that that helps people kind of enunciate why they don't like the game, and helps the developers especially recognize the faults and where they can possibly improve in the future in their careers. So thank you all for watching this far. I know it's a long one. I hope to see you all again soon. Good day. Hey, you made it to the epilogue. Um, this portion of the video is sort of like cleaning up the rough edges from the main portion, if you will. Like, we've seen a lot change since I recorded that main portion. There's been a lot of new information. The game is literally dying. It is probably dead by the time you're watching this. Um, and you know, I have some thoughts about this final update that was released on March 4th. Um, as well as some of the statistics that Chad Granier, I believe his name is, the game director, released. So I'm just gonna take some time and like talk about that. So yeah, let's just get into it, I guess. Um, First things first, this patch. They released this, like I said, on March 4th. This is the final update. And this blew my mind when I saw it. Because I was like, wait, if this was out at launch, if this feature alone was out at launch, this could have been actually game-changing. And I know that's like kind of ballsy, but look at this. An entire fleshed out skill tree. 4 completely unique different paths. All kinds of stuff. I'd argue this is more developed than the skill tree in Arc Raiders. You don't see multiplayer shooters having like extensive skill trees. Maybe you have a leveling system, you know, where you unlock weapons or unlock skins for weapons and stuff like that, but you never have like genuine skill trees like this. This would have been honestly a selling point for I think a lot of people, even myself. I love skill trees. I love feeling like my character is actually learning new abilities, learning new skills, as I, the player, am learning new skills and abilities, right? It actually feels like I'm like building towards something and like making my character genuinely stronger, not just a higher number on a screen, but like genuinely my character is like gaining abilities in the world, right? This would have been crazy cool. Especially for a hero shooter. I mean, like, not even hero shooters of days past that have been around for 10 years, like Overwatch, have stuff like this. You know, there's like the little perk systems per game, and there's like the stadium mode, but something like this that's just across the board for all characters doesn't exist. So, like, this is a really cool idea. And it's funny, because as you see here, I'm actually blocking it. On the right, it says Raider. Remember the Raiders and the Wardens? I guess that was prophetic. I don't know, man. It ended up becoming canon in the game weeks after I recorded that. So, I guess I was onto something when I was recording that. But this, like, I saw that and I was like, why did they not have a version of this developed at launch? I feel like it's a huge selling point, especially to release this a week before the game dies forever. Like, you're not even going to give your players a chance to even like try it. It's like teasing the players, like, this is what could have been if we actually put some more time into this game. You know, it's like not cool, but such a cool idea. You know, I feel like I haven't been on the game to look at what these abilities do. Maybe these abilities just suck and it like wouldn't have been worth it in the first place. But like, I feel like this would have been genuinely a game-changing thing. But not only did they add a skill tree, so you have all these abilities, right? All these little perks with all these like themes. right? But they also added a new freaking character. The fact that this game whipped out 2 characters in the 45 days it was out. In the span of 45 days, this game had a launch roster of 8 characters and added 2 within that time. No hero shooter pulls that off. And I know that the only reason they're releasing this character is because it's like a last hurrah and like, oh, it's a underdeveloped character that we plan to release in the future. So like this character probably would have been released and if this game survived, probably would have been released in like April or May. But like, dude, no other game pulls that off. Releasing 2 extra characters in 2 months. Like, the closest thing we get is Marvel Rivals. But even then, that's not them designing new characters. It's just whipping a character out of a vault, basically. And then, like, giving them a new design and, like, 3 Gooner skins. And moving on. Like, this, like, character doesn't seem, like, too interesting. Like, abilities-wise, it's, like, basically just a protective, like, tankier character, But the design is honestly kind of cool. If this dude was on the launch roster, I probably would have been playing him. Seriously. I probably would have been playing this character. Purely because he just looks cool. He just looks cooler than, like, a 90% of the cast. Genuinely. He just does. Like, cool guy. Oh, it's a suit of armor, right? It's like a lost soul from long before the continent disappeared, trapped inside a suit of armor. That's cool as hell. Like a dude that's like a dude's soul that's trapped inside of a suit of armor. That's a cool idea. Why wasn't this guy on the launch roster instead of like half of them that had like basically no story and were just like really boring looking? This guy looks cool. I like the helmet, right? I like the steampunk armor, cool stuff. But not only did they release a character and a skill tree, they released a gun too. And I'm like, what are they thinking? They had all of this stuff, like, ready to go, basically. And this is another shotgun, right? So it's like, I bet you this wouldn't have been used as much as, what is it called? It's funny, because I want to call the shotgun, like, the Mammoth, but that's the thing from Hyperscape. Of all things, I would remember the gun from Hyperscape and not the gun from Highguard. It's because that game lasted longer, obviously. God, I missed that game. But like this probably wouldn't have been used as much as like the main like pump shotgun of the game, but it's like still they had these weapons designed, they had these weapons ready to go. I don't know why they held off on a lot of this stuff. That character could have easily been in the main roster, I think. I mean, like, if you want to tell me that the past 2 months since the game came out, it really took that long to get that character out, I'd be like, I don't know about that, especially with how many they suffered the layoffs in between launch and this time, and they're complaining about the money. I'm like, there's no way you can pay everybody to develop that in that amount of time, right? This stuff, like, I would almost guarantee these things were pretty much ready to go, like, pretty close to launch, especially with that whole, like, roadmap thing they had. This stuff makes me believe that that was not a lie. Like, they probably actually had stuff ready to go really early on, especially if they're pulling stuff like this out, like, so late. Concord didn't do this, Concord lasted a week and didn't do anything for their player base. I was looking in the comments of this. I'm not gonna, like, expose anybody or, like, make fun of anybody, but I was seeing people in the comments of this post on Steam. There's people who have played over 100 hours of Highguard. Like, those people actually exist. So for the folks out there to say, like, oh, nobody wanted to play this game, period, not a single person wanted to do it, all the people that were supporting the game are just wimpy. Even I kind of was one of those folks that was like, the people supporting the game, the Wardens, as I call them, like, they're not even, like, really playing the game. They're just kind of, like, pitying the developers. But seriously, there's people who really enjoyed this game, like people who had hundreds of hours on this game in just 45 days. And I'm like, dude, I didn't even put that much time into Arc Raiders, like, in that time frame of the game being out. So, like, it's just shocking to me how much they had ready to go Because they were saying it's like, okay, we needed to like cut all this stuff so we can put more money into development. Or like we just don't have enough people to develop the game. We don't have enough people to keep it alive. But they had all this stuff ready to ship. So it's like, to me it's just like difficult to sit with that. And I feel like a lot of this stuff just should have been there from the get-go. I really do. I feel like a lot of this should have just been there from the start. I think that's simple. I feel like a lot of this stuff, like the skill tree, I think would have been game changing for people to have. I genuinely think that the skill tree, even for me, I probably would have played the game a little bit more. Not by much, but at least a little bit more if I felt like my character was actually progressing and like learning something and gaining something. You know what I mean? Like feeling so stagnant, like in most hero shooters, in most multiplayer online shooters, right? Excuse me. Um, you just kind of feel like you're just playing games to like level up or progress your battle pass or whatever. This game, first of all, gave like the battle pass for free for people, so you kind of already had something to work towards, I guess, just by default. But like, this is a different level. This is like actually gameplay impacting. This is not just cosmetics, or, something to make your character look different. This is like actually something that changes the gameplay. And so people would have been, in my opinion, actually attracted to a system like this. This could have been a selling point for the game. This genuinely could have been a selling point for people, knowing that there was some kind of skill tree, right? This genuinely could have been a selling point for a decent margin of people. I believe that. I mean, y'all can tell me if I'm wrong and like this wouldn't have changed your mind on the game at all. And that's fair. If the gameplay's bad, the gameplay's bad. But I feel like a lot of people are really attracted to progression in games, like genuinely feeling like they're gaining something, they're learning something, their character is leveling up, not just in a numbers sense, but in like an actual skills sense. So I feel like this could have been a big improvement for people. And of course, all the new content and all that, and it feels like they were actually like frequently balancing the game too. But the game's over now. It's done. It's done. All this is gonna be gone, tomorrow. I'm recording this on March 11th, so I think the game shuts down tomorrow, right? Yeah, March 12th. So there's only a few hours left of this game's availability, so that actually makes me curious. I want to talk about this, but let's go to SteamDB. Let's look at Highguard. Okay, so right now, in the game's final day, it has 300 players. They did have a little bit of a player spike around when the patch came out, the last update. That's actually funny. I guess people were actually interested in trying the game. I think that goes to show, like, that's kind of like that kind of just like proves my ideas on, like if, okay, wait, let me rephrase this. Like, proves what I was saying about, like, people actually giving the game a shot. Like, people being willing to give the game a shot. Not just because, oh, gamer culture bad, and gamer culture hates everybody, and hates all games, and hates all developers. But, like, this proves, right here, that people are actually willing to try the game. So, like, hundreds of people came back to the game just to try it. Literally just to try it again and give it another shoot. Give it another shot. Shoot. I guess they would be shooting again. But, yeah, I mean, I feel like 300 players isn't, like, super out of the norm for the game. I mean, it's definitely dipped down to 150 at its lowest. 117. 100, actually, at its lowest. I'm surprised it never dipped below 100. So it's really not as bad as Concord. This game did a lot better than Concord, despite it being called Concord 2. Some sequels do better. But okay, so the other thing I wanted to comment on was this Twitter thread posted by the director of the game. Um, as a correction to the claim I made in this video, I said that like we can assume that like maybe 1.5 million people played the game. Actually, 2 million people tried the game, and surprisingly enough, PlayStation was the biggest group of players for the game, which after sitting on it and looking at this, I was like, oh, that actually kind of makes sense because um, I think about other games, like similar games. I feel like Apex has like a big console crowd as compared to PC. At least when I was playing Apex a lot in like the first like 10 seasons, like I feel like it was kind of controller dominant. I don't know if that's changed because it's been like more than 15 seasons since I've played, but like I feel like when I was playing it was pretty controller dominant. Like aim assist was big. You know, a lot of games like that kind of favor controller. Um, I feel like there's a lot of console players that like prefer the controller. What am I saying? Of course, console players prefer controller, but like console players kind of prefer that arena shooter style gameplay, like Call of Duty and stuff that like kind of favors controller as opposed to KBM. So I don't know. I feel like Highguard could have been really successful in that area if the game was actually good. Then the game honestly probably would have held like a really decent crowd in the console group. He also said that Scarlet was the most picked character. Oh, originally was Sky in the files. Interesting. Which is not surprising to me because, in my opinion, Scarlet was like the game's Wraith from Apex. I know I keep making relations to Apex, but it just felt like that. Like in the gameplay that I got that you saw in this video, um, I got killed by this one Wraith, like a couple, not Wraith, Scarlet, a couple times, and they had TTV in their name. And the dude wasn't even really that good, but it was just like that's like, oh, it's the sweaty character, right? You know, they have like she's got like the knives and the sand abilities and stuff, and you know, probably the most attractive girl character in the game. That tends to be how it goes. Like the sweatiest character is like the character that all the teenagers find, you know, cute. Let's see. There was some other stuff here that I found interesting. Here we go. This graph I actually found really interesting. So in my video, I mentioned that 5v5 was like a really major improvement for the game. Because I had said that like this whole idea of like the raid shooter, like you're raiding the enemy's base, you're trying to fight for land, like it just doesn't feel like 3v3 really fit that very well. So I always advocated for 5v5, and I will agree that 5v5 felt better. I don't think that like 10v10 or whatever, like 50v50 like Fortnite, would work in a game like this. I do think 5v5 felt a lot better, but it's interesting that 3v3 actually had a higher player base even when 5v5 was out. So I think the reason why this is because probably the player base that was playing the game from launch and continued to play it and actually play it consistently and enjoy it, they're probably just used to 3v3. They're probably just like actually enjoying the game. And also like 30% of the player base you see here, the green along the bottom, that's ranked. So I'm actually kind of shocked that ranked had like genuinely a third of the player base. Like the modes are kind of split, you know? Like it's actually like 30%, 30%, 30% almost. But like the main raid mode is still was dominant. So I found that really interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. The game is done. It's dead. It's gone. I played about 4 hours of this game. Um, I tried to give it a fair shot. I tried to enjoy it. I tried to love it because it's the Titanfall devs, right? Um, was severely disappointed. The game's not good. You know that I think that because you watch this video. Most people think that, actually. So, yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to put some perspective and some thoughts on what I thought about, everything that's come out since I initially recorded this video. I think some of the stuff that they've added recently is actually pretty cool and would have been really useful at launch, would have been actually things that could have kept players holding on to the game and being like, look, this game has a skill tree. Look at this cool character. No, not all the characters are poorly designed. We have actual cool characters, just stuff like that, right? I just found some of those statistics interesting, like the whole console statistic. I was like, huh, this game actually does make sense to be more attractive to console players, like, but if the game was actually good, then people would have held on to it a little bit longer. People would have actually had like more of an attachment to it. But that's about it. I hope you enjoyed the main video, and I hope you enjoyed this epilogue. I hope to see you guys again soon.